While using the RTX 4090 graphics card paired with the i7-14700KF CPU, I've ran into CPU limitations in two of the most recently released games. One of them is Horizon Forbidden West and the other one is Dragon's Dogma 2. And it wasn't at 1080p or 1440p resolution, it was at 4K with all the graphics settings maxed out. Allow me to show you exactly what I mean. So right now, the GPU is at full load, 99%. However, if we change the scene, take a look at that GPU load. Just keep an eye on it. It is at 90% right now. You see that? That is what CPU bottleneck is. It's when your GPU can produce more frames, but the CPU is holding it back. So in this video, I want to check, is the faster CPU, in this case, the i9-14900K, going to resolve this issue and will get a higher FPS in this game? Or is it the case where the game is not using the CPU properly and we'll see exactly the same performance? To test it out, I'm using this pre-built CyberPower PC powered by MSI. Full specifications are on the screen now. And by the way, if you're interested in any of the products featured in this video, I'll have them linked in the description below. First, let's analyze how the i7-14700KF behaves in Horizon Forbidden West. In the scene where I suspect the CPU bottleneck, the CPU is at around 20% load, and the cores are at 5.5 GHz. Some of them are dropping core clocks. CPU temperature is absolutely fine. It is below 60, well below, and the CPU power is jumping up and down. 100 watts, 90 watts, 80. Yeah, so it's not consistent. It appears that there is no kind of consistency here, even though we are on a static scene. And we are getting 82 FPS. This is quite odd, but after a couple of minutes, the FPS dropped to 79, 78, sometimes I see 77. This happened as I was just recording this video, and the FPS eventually stabilized at around 79 to 81 FPS. By the way, this kind of performance behavior happens in both indoors and outdoors areas of the game. I've removed the i7-14700KF and the i9 is now in there. Now let's have a look how the i9-14900K performs in Horizon Forbidden West in the same scene with the same graphics settings. Just to prove it to you, here it is, 4K, DLAA, and all the settings are maxed out. The same as in the previous test with the i7. And honestly, I did not expect this result. Take a look at this. We've had from 79 to 82 FPS with the i7-14700KF in this scene, and right now with the i9-14900K we are seeing above 90 FPS. That is that is insane. I did not expect this. Interestingly, the GPU is still not fully loaded, but the CPU is boosting to 5.7 GHz. And take a look at that. The CPU is actually quite cool. It consumes around 100 to 120 watts of power. Sometimes it does drop below 100. It appears that even if you have a 240mm liquid cooler like I do here for the 14900K, it is fine for gaming. The i9 won't get hot. It is only when you load all the cores to the maximum in some kind of professional workload, that's when you need a better cooler. But this is unexpected. We've gained a lot more performance than I initially expected. I was expecting something like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 FPS more. But in reality, we received an uplift of around 10 FPS at 4K resolution. I am very pleased with the result, and now I want to keep the i9. Let's take it for a little spin. Yeah, this feels good. 90 plus FPS. Don't forget that this is native resolution. You know what, now I've got to try to get to that 144 Hz experience. We need 144 FPS. Will we be able to get it with upscaling and frame generation? Let's take a look. Let's start with DLSS on quality. Okay, we are getting closer. We're at above 100 FPS now. Where previously we've seen 90 plus. Now let's turn on frame generation. It is on. And we are not quite there, but take a look at that. 140, 135. This is crazy. Yeah, I like it. Now I can lock the FPS at 120 and enjoy the game like that. It'll be an amazing experience. 4K 120. And even in this area right here, take a look at that. We have well above 120 FPS. And the gameplay feels very smooth. Oh, so nice. Take a look at that frame time graph. It is almost flat. Now let's check how the i7 behaves in Dragon's Dogma 2. I have all the graphics settings maxed out. And inside of the town, we're getting close to 60 FPS, but this is the area where there's a lot of NPCs and the game is quite broken. Game developers still haven't fixed it. So that's where we're getting inconsistent performance and stutters, and the FPS drops below 60. Just to be clear, this is not hardware's fault. So the i7 should be pretty good for this type of games, but it is not because the game optimization sucks. But we are here to check if we can brute force our way through this problem with the i9-14900K. But with the i7, as you can see, the GPU load is jumping up and down. Sometimes it drops down to 90, 83 just then. So it is not perfect. And the overall experience is quite stuttery. Some of the NPCs are just appearing out of thin air right before my eyes. Like just then, you see that? They just appear as well as disappear. Now let's turn on DLSS, because I do not like how TAA works in this game. I prefer DLSS, because it does provide a better anti-aliasing as well as better performance. So let's set DLSS to quality mode. And inside of the town, it doesn't change a thing. The FPS is still all over the place. Yeah, not pleasant. GPU is at something like 70 to 80% load. Not great. And in other areas of the game, the GPU load is absolutely fine, although it does drop to 94% from time to time, as you've seen just then. Oh, 92% just then. So this is close to nitpicking, although take a look at that. I've seen 89% GPU load just then. Oh, no, I don't want to talk to you right now. Go away. Just to confirm that we are using the same graphics settings, we are on DLSS Quality and everything else is maxed out. And have a look at this. 99, 98, so we are still getting GPU load dips here and there, but it does appear that the FPS is higher. Yeah, it is definitely better, and the CPU cores are boosting to 5.7 GHz, which is higher than 5.5 we've had with the i7, so it is expected that the performance will be a little bit better, a little bit more consistent. But comparing the two experiences, I can't really say that this is significantly better. When I'm just running around without looking at the FPS counter, it feels pretty much the same to me. Now that we are back in the town on the i9-14900K, let's disable DLSS to make it fair, because previously we've tested this area without DLSS. It is still stuttery, although I think the stutters are not as noticeable. Take a look at that frame time graph. It is somewhat flatter, but I still feel stutters. It is not a smooth experience, but it does appear to help if you have a faster CPU. There's lots of NPCs around to load the CPU. Let's move to this area. Usually there's a lot of NPCs here. Oh, there we go, stutters. And NPCs are just appearing out of thin air right before our eyes. Oh, and disappearing as well. There you go. So for Dragon's Dogma 2, my conclusion is it is definitely better to have a faster CPU to run this game, because even though the FPS is still not great, frame time is not smooth, it still feels better. Not miles better, but better. And with this kind of GPU, I do expect a superb experience in any game. And if the CPU stands in the way of that smooth gameplay experience, then the upgrade does make sense in my opinion. Now let's see what the performance is like with DLSS enabled inside of the town. There we go, 70 plus, 69, 68, nice. Yeah, there appears to be fewer performance dips with the i9. Conclusion time. I was actually very surprised to see that the i9-14900K gave us a tangible performance uplift at 4K resolution. In my opinion, if you're already spending a lot of money on the best available GPU on the market right now, then you might as well just buy the best CPU as well. That will bring you as close as possible to a zero compromise experience in gaming. I'll be keeping the i9-14900 in there, at least for as long as the 4090 is in there as well. I think it was interesting to see that even the current generation of graphics cards can be bottlenecked by the current generation of CPUs at 4K resolution in some games. This experience showed me that the upcoming RTX 1590 graphics card by Nvidia that is expected to launch later this year really needs the next-gen CPUs by AMD and Intel, which are luckily also expected to launch later this year. What do you think about all this? Let me know in the comments below, and let's start some conversations. I read the comments and I also reply to the comments, so see you there. If you're interested in any of the products featured in this video, they are linked in the description below, check them out. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to give it a like to let the algorithm know that this video is good, and it will share it with more people. Other than that, subscribe for more videos like this. It was I, Vadim. Until next time.